In this video, we'll create role-based authentication and authorization in ASP.NET Core Web API from scratch. So, let's start. Open Visual Studio. Click on Create New Project. Choose ASP.NET Core Web API project and click Next. Type application name and click Next. Leave everything as it is here and click Next. Project is created. Delete these files first. Now, open NuGet Package Manager. Select Browse tab, and search for Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Authentication.JWT bearer package, and install it. Now search Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Identity.Entity Framework Core, and install it. Now search Microsoft.Entity Framework.SQL Server, and install it. Now search Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.Tools, and install it. Now search Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.Design, and install it. Now search Microsoft.VisualStudio.Web.CodeGeneration.Design, and install it. All of our required packages are now installed. Now create a folder named Models. Create another folder named Data. Create a class named Login inside Models folder. Inside it, create a string type property named Username and initialize it with empty string. Create string type property named Password and initialize it with empty string. Now, create another class, name it Register. Inside it, create a string type property named Username and initialize it with empty string. Create new string type property named Email and initialize it with empty string. Create new string type property named Password and initialize it with empty string. Now, create another class, name it User Role. Inside it, create a string type property named Username and initialize it with empty string. Create new string type property named Role and initialize it with empty string. Now, inside Data folder, create a class named AppDBContext. Inherit this class from IdentityDB-Context and pass it identity user and also import its library. Now create constructor of this class with options. Now open Program.cs file. Above build method, use builder.services.addDBContext method. Pass it AppDBContext class. Use lambda expression. And use SQL Server method. Pass it builder.configuration.getConnectionString. And pass it string name. Open appsettings.json file. Copy this connection string and paste it here. Open SQL Server Management Studio. Copy the server's name from here, and paste in front of server. Also add the database name here. Now, use builder.services.addIdentity. Pass it identity user and identity role. Use Lambda expression. Set password requirements according to your needs. However, I'm making these rules false just for demonstration. After it, use addEntityFrameworkStores method, and pass it AppDBContext class. And also use addDefaultTokenProvider method. Now, use builder.services.addAuthentication method. Use Lambda expression. Set default authentication scheme equal to JWT bearer defaults.authentication scheme. Set default challenge scheme equal to JWT bearer defaults.authentication scheme. And also set default scheme equal to JWT bearer defaults.authentication scheme. After it, use addJWT bearer method. Use Lambda expression. Use token validation parameters. And initialize it with token validation parameters method and import its library. Inside it, set validate issuer to true. Set validate audience to false. Set validate lifespan to true. Set validate issuer signing key to true. Use valid issuer, but before that go to app settings. Create JWT property. Add issuer and pass string to it. Add expiry minutes and pass it time after which token expires. Add key and pass it some random key which should be longer. Now, use valid issuer, pass it builder.configuration method, and pass it JWT:issuer like this. Use issuer signing key, and pass it new symmetric security key method. Pass it encoding.utf8.getBytes method. Pass it builder.configuration method. Pass it JWT:key. It can be null, so use exclamation mark after it. After it, use builder.services.addAuthorization method. Use Lambda expression. Use addPolicy method. Pass it policy name. Pass it policy.requireRole method using Lambda expression, and pass it role name. Add new policy, change its name to user policy, and also change role to user. And finally add app.addAuthentication method before addAuthorization method. With this, Program.cs file is complete. Now create an empty API controller inside Controllers folder, and name it Account Controller. Inside it, create private read-only property of user manager of type user identity named user manager. Create another private read-only property of role manager of type user identity named role manager. After it, create private read-only property of type configuration named configuration. Now, create constructor of this class, and initialize all of these properties inside it. Now, use HTTP post tag, and set route to register like this. Now, create a public async method of type task, named register. Use from body method and pass register model as a parameter and name it model. Inside it, create a variable named user, initialize it with new identity user, and pass it username equal to model.username. Create a variable named result. Initialize it with userManager.createAsync method, and pass it user variable and model.password. Now, use if statement to check if result succeeded. Inside it, return OK method, and pass it new message in string format like this. After if statement, return bad request method, and pass it result.error. Now, register method is complete. Now, use HTTP post tag again, and set route to login. Create a public async method of type task, named login, se from body method and pass login model as a parameter and name it model. Inside it, create variable named user, initialize it with user manager find by name async method, and pass it model.username. Now use if statement, check that user is not null, and also use userManager.checkPassword method, and pass it user variable and model.password. Inside if statement, create a variable named user roles, and initialize it with userManager.getRolesAsync method and pass it user variable. Create a variable name authClaims, and initialize it with new list of claim type, inside it, create new claim, and pass it JWT register claim names, and import its library, then use .sub. After it, pass user.username. After it, create new claim, pass it JWT register claim names.jti, then pass GUID.newGUID. To string method. Now use authClaims.addRange method, pass it userRoles.select method, use lambda expression to find claim according to role. After it, create a variable named token, initialize it with new JWT security token method. Inside it, use issuer property, and pass it issuer from app settings using configuration. Use expires property, pass it datetime.now.addMinutes method, pass it double.parse method, and then pass it expiry minutes from app settings using configuration. Use claims property, and pass it auth claims. Use signing credentials property. Pass it new signing credentials method and import its library. Then pass it new symmetric security key method. Then pass it encoding.utf8.getBytes method. And then pass it key from app settings using configuration. After it also pass security algorithms.moksha 256. After it, return OK method, and inside it set token equal to new JWT security token handler.write token method and pass it token variable. After if statement, return unauthorized method. Now, login method is complete. Now, create HTTP post tag and set route to add role. Create a public async method of type task, named add role. In parameters, use from body tag and pass role of string type. Inside it, use if statement, and check if role already does not exist. And inside it, create variable named result, and initialize it with roleManager.createAsync method. Pass it new identity role, and then pass it role. There's bug. We needed to pass identity role to role manager instead of identity user. Error is gone now. Now use if statement again, and check if result succeeded. Inside it, return OK method, and pass it new message in string format like this. After it, return bad request method, and pass it result.error. Then finally, return bad request method, and pass it string that role already exists. With this, add role method is complete. Now, create HTTP post tag and set route to assign role. Create a public async method of type task. Named assign role. Use from body tag and pass user role model and name it model. Inside it, create a variable named user. Initialize it with userManager.findByNameAsync method, and pass it model.username. Use if statement, and check it user is null. Inside it, return bad request method with string, user not found. After it, create a variable named result. Initialize it with userManager.addToRoleAsync method, and pass it user variable and model.role. Use if statement and check if result succeeded. Inside it, return OK method, and pass it new message in string format like this. After it, return bad request method, and pass it result.errors. With this, account controller is complete. Now, create an empty API controller named admin controller. Inside it, use HTTP GET tag. Create public method of type iAction result named GET. Inside it, return OK method, and pass this simple string. Now use authorize annotation and set roles equal to admin. Now, create another empty API controller named user controller. Now copy this code and paste in user controller. Change admin into user. Use authorize annotation and set roles equal to user. Now we need to create migrations. For that, open Package Manager console and type add migration in it. Migrations are created. Now, type update database to create database. Let's check it. Our database is created with all required identity tables. Now run this application, and also run Postman to test out this API. API has started successfully. Copy API address and paste it inside Postman. Let create admin and user first. Copy the register endpoint and paste inside Postman. Change call type to post. Copy the JSON format and paste in body. Create admin first. Admin created successfully. Now create user. User is also created. Now, copy the add role endpoint to add roles. First, pass admin role. Role is added. Now pass user role. User role is also added. Now copy assign role endpoint to assign roles to users. Copy the JSON format and paste here. Change username to admin and role to admin. Role is assigned. Now, change the username to user and role to user role. Role is assigned to user successfully. Now, let's check users and roles in database. Users are added. Roles are also assigned using user IDs. And roles are added too. Now copy the login endpoint to test the login method. Copy the JSON format and paste in Postman. Change username to admin and also add password. There's an error. Let's check the login method. We misspelled the key here. Now restart the API. Send the request again. Now, it has provided us the token for admin. Save this token to use it later. Now log in the user and save its token too. Now, copy the admin endpoint and paste in Postman. Remove the body and change request type to GET. It has restricted our access because we did not provide the token. Now let's test it by giving it user token instead of admin. As you can see, it has restricted our access again by returning 403 forbidden error. Now let's provide admin token. And with correct token it has given us the access to admin controller. Let's test the user controller by providing it admin token. And it restricted our access. Let's provide the user token. And it has given us the access to user controller. It means our role-based authorization is working perfectly. This is simple API for demonstration, but you can create more complex APIs using this concept as basic code will remain the same. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to ask these in comment section. Finally, thanks for watching.